We'll open it up for an opening statement from Coach, and then we'll start taking questions.
So, well, thanks again for all of you being with us virtually again this week. And, before we get going on the North Carolina game in our bye week, we had a sad day yesterday for Wake Forest football when we lost Dr. Larry Hopkins. When I first got the job at Wake Forest, the very first luncheon I had after meeting Dr. Hatch and his wife, I met Dr. Hopkins and his wife, Beth, and had my very first lunch with them. And he was just a remarkable supporter of our program, always showed up for our spring game events, dinner events, would do anything for our players in terms of networking. And he was just such a respected member of our community and a great running back in his own right at Wake Forest for our 1970 ACC championship team. So that was a devastating loss for the Wake Forest football family. And certainly our prayers go out to his family and especially his wife, Beth. Larry will be missed. And he was just a really, really good man. And with Larry, that's an understatement. So we'll certainly miss him. We're, came off a bye week here and I think made progress. I think we're getting some people healthy. We'll find out how healthy as we go through the week. But this is certainly a game that we need, everybody in the boat. Carolina, first of all, it's a huge rivalry game. Anytime we play a Big Four rivalry game, it's a big deal to us. This is our 103rd meeting, dating back well over 100 years. This is our first time that we're going to Keenan Memorial Stadium that they have the turf in. The last time we played there in 2015, it was a grass field. And obviously, Mac Brown and his staff have done an unbelievable job in a very short period of time revitalizing North Carolina football. Their offense is the best right now in the ACC. Statistically, they're one of the top offenses in all the country. They've had 500 yards, over 500 yards for 5 straight games right now. And their lineup reads like an all-star team. These are a bunch of guys that will be playing on Sundays. Their quarterback, Sam Howell, we played him last year in his 3rd start. His development has been remarkable. He could always throw it. His comfort in the pocket, his ability to go through reads, his accuracy. He throws a beautiful deep ball, and he's just so poised. And what's really underrated is his athleticism. He makes more plays with his feet. He buys time in the pocket. He's extremely strong. The amount of tackles that he breaks and sacks that he avoids because of his strength. And then you combine that with 2 NFL caliber running backs, Michael Carter and Javonte Williams, as a 1-2 punch are extremely dangerous. They're both excellent players in their own right. You can put I don't know how many yak yards they have, yards after contact, but it's remarkable to watch. Their skill at receiver is exceptional. Diami Brown has become his go-to target and one of the very best receivers in the ACC. Daz Newsome is extremely dangerous as a slot and as a punt returner. And they've had so much receiver development there with Simmons and Brown and Green and other players. And then their offensive line is massive and really, really talented. I think they average about 320 pounds on the O-line, and guys are 6'6", 6'7", 6'6 and a half. This is a very, very potent offense, and it's going to be challenging to get stops. And it really doesn't tell the story because their defense, I think, is 5th in the ACC right now, and they're giving up less than 400 yards a game. They have some all-conference caliber players too. Their 2 ends, the 2 Foxes are really good. Hopper's an exceptional player. The two linebackers, Surratt and Gemmel, are all conference type players. Patrice Rene, if he's healthy, is certainly an all ACC caliber corner, and their kicking game is very good as well. So this is going to be a real challenge for us. This is one of the best teams in the ACC, one of the most talented teams we've played, and their offensive skill they're just, their cup's running over with their offensive skill players. There's so many players on the offensive side of the ball who can beat you. And again, Mac and his staff have done a great job in 2 years of taking them from a 2-10 team to a contending football team. So again, we're looking forward to the challenge, but we know we're going to have to play extremely well.
Dave, is it easy to quantify what you accomplished during the bye week?
No. Other than, we had 3 back-to-back ACC games that were emotional games, and I think we were a little beat up. I think it was a good time to get the batteries recharged. And, we had said after the second bye week, we were hoping to get some guys back. And, some guys practiced today for the first time and looked okay. And if those guys can make progress through the week, we're hopeful to have some of those guys back, but it's too early to tell for sure.
Dave, do you see some similarities between they have good running backs, you guys have great two running backs, and then both Sams can get the ball to the receivers? I mean, it almost like you guys are mirror images in some respects just because of the way the offenses have been run.
Yeah, I just think they're, they returned a lot of starters. A lot of our guys are first-time starters. So I think our guys are playing really well. Carter and Williams split reps a year ago. Brown was a really good receiver a year ago. Hal started a year ago. McKeithen, Tucker, Anderson, a lot of these guys last year were playing and starting for the first time for them, and they're all back a year better. Our guys have made great progress. But I just think their guys are, I'm not going to say they're better. They're just they're more experienced. They've played a little more than our guys, but I love our players, and I think they're really good. There's just a little bit more experience, between Carter, Williams, Brown, those guys. They've been starters for them the last 2-3 years.
David, was there something when you looked at the Virginia and Florida State games that where they didn't handle mobile quarterbacks well? They had a lot of problems. They got behind, big. Is there anything that you look at and you say these are things that are repeatable by our group that has given them problems in their losses?
Well, I think if you watch those games, they just, first of all, Florida State executed really well on offense against them early and really jumped out to a big lead. And, Carolina turned it over, and, some plays that they would typically make, whether it's drops and stuff, they dropped probably more balls in that Florida State game than the rest of the year combined. So that's nothing we have control over. And even as poorly as North Carolina played in the first half of that game, they still had a chance to win it. Virginia, I thought, played really well against them and kept them off balance. And, even then, if they don't fake a punt and convert it in the fourth quarter, North Carolina has a very good chance of winning that game. So you certainly study the film and look at what teams have done. But I think Carolina in both those games probably used those as missed opportunities. And credit to Florida State and Virginia. Those teams played extremely well in those games.
Dave, when you face an offensive line that's as big as theirs, is the hope that you can beat them with speed?
Say that again?
When you face an offensive line as big as theirs, is the hope that you can beat them using speed?
I don't know, they're just so big, they cover you up. I think the trick is, you got to try to get them in third down, and they've been so good at avoiding third downs. They're so explosive, and they don't lose yardage. And those running backs are getting hit, and people are have a chance to tackle them at the line of scrimmage, and they're still running for 30 and 40 yards. And the other thing they've done differently this year is they've involved their running backs a lot more in the pass game. So last year, to me, they were more max protection. They did things to kind of keep things simple for a freshman quarterback. And I think their quarterback has a much better command of the offense and protections and those type of things, that they're really getting Carter and Williams involved in the passing game. And those guys have become really good receivers out of the backfield. And they don't run just swing routes or checkdowns with them. I mean, they run routes with these guys. So I don't think it's ever as easy as saying they've got big linemen run around them. Sometimes when you try to run around them and they widen you, you just create bigger holes. And we play our defense, and it's not going to be like you can put in a brand new defense in a week.
You talked last week about getting some extra reps during the bye week to some of your, people further down the depth chart, and specifically Coach Higgins talked about getting some work to like some folks like Jamal Banks and Keyshawn Williams. Have you seen anything from the guys further down on the depth chart at the wide receiver position that you think can maybe be used down the stretch of the season?
Yeah, I mean, Keyshawn Williams, I think, has had a really good 2 weeks. We tried to give Ja'Cory Roberson and Taylor Moran a little bit of a break. And we got Keyshawn a lot of extra reps, and he looks really good. And we're also trying to get Donald Stewart involved. We brought Donald here for a reason. He missed some time with injury in camp, but getting him back would really be helpful too.
Are there any concerns of a letdown coming out of a bye week? You've probably seen that before, where you guys maybe, you get into a flow, you put 3 or 4 wins together, you have some momentum, and then you get that week off. How do you think it'll affect your team?
I don't know, Les. I mean, we have a bye week, and we've handled bye weeks somewhat similar here for a couple of years. And, sometimes we come in those bye weeks and, we're breathing fire like Virginia, and other times like last year against Louisville, you come out and you're flat. So, if you can figure out the psychology of that one for me. So, I mean, I would hope with how we're playing and the opponent and how they're playing, but yeah, I think as a coach, and it's not the bye week, it's just the fatigue of the season. It's been over 4 months now of pretty much lockdown football isolation, and it's certainly been worth it. But there's a fatigue that's involved with this that you hope you hope out of the bye week, the batteries are charged and they're ready to go, but you never know. But we've had a good week of practice. We've had a good bye week. I know our guys are excited for this game. I'd be very disappointed if we're not emotionally ready to go. But certainly the caliber of the opponent, to me, is one of the challenges. We play a very good football team that's extremely talented.
Is there an advantage that you guys had a little more time to prepare for them as opposed to the other way around?
You know what, John, I once looked into that statistically, and I think people like getting a bye week for the extra week of preparation, but when you have a bye week, usually your winning percentage goes down. Most people play better, the percentage of winning is better when you're in the flow than a bye week. However, if we can get back Luke Masterson and Nasir Greer and Kobe Davis and guys like that, I certainly feel better about our chances of playing well with our better players. So again, whenever you're playing every week and you're playing well and you're in a rhythm, you don't want to give it up. But certainly, with a team like Carolina and what they do on offense and how difficult the preparation is, it's nice to have an extra couple of days because they're extremely difficult to defend. They're a really well thought out offense. They have answers. They understand what they're doing, where they have leverage, where the matchups are. They know their offense. And if you do this, they're going to do this. And it's really, really well thought out. So, yeah, I'm glad we had extra time, but with the way we were playing, I'd have loved to play last Saturday. But that's every year. You're going to have 1 or 2 bye weeks every year, and you make the best of it.
So when did you start the UNC install?
Last Saturday. We got an extra day or 2 on them. If you start going 10 days or 2 weeks on an opponent, the players get tired. They get burned out. And so we never try to spend more than two extra practices on an opponent.
As you see what's happening in the SEC, there's been 3 games for this weekend already postponed. Do you feel good about what you've done so far at Wake Forest and in general how the ACC has kind of handled things this season?
I never feel good about that. I mean, it's a hold your breath 3 times a week, Les. It really is. So every time we get tested, I hold my breath till we get the results the next day. And then the next day we get tested. And so that is not a victory I'm ever going to celebrate until the season's over and we get through it. I think you can do a good job with it, and all of a sudden, bang. And you look at other schools that have done a great job with it, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, they get 3 cases that become 7 cases that become 18 cases. And I said at the beginning of the year, the virus is going to be undefeated. And it still is. And we have respect for it, and we have fear of it, and we have a million protocols in place. And even with that, it just takes one person, and then it gets part of your team, and you don't know what's going to happen. So we take it day by day, and we handle it the best we can, and we're never going to declare a victory on that one.
Dave, will it be easier when the students leave and it's just you guys maybe in December and stuff, or you're not even really looking that far ahead?
I don't look that far ahead, John. I mean, I think this thing comes down to we've got, 125 young men, and we've got about 50 to 60 people that interact with our football team. And we're all dependent on each other to make good decisions and be safe and healthy. And even doing that doesn't guarantee that you're not going to get it. So, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not an expert on viruses. And it just seems like people who people who are extra cautious, they can still get it. Again, I think it's up to each individual player. And if they're responsible, they should be responsible when the students are here. And they should be responsible when the students aren't here. All right. Well, thanks for your time. Great to see you. And look forward to seeing you again on Zoom in 4 days after. And so you guys are good with the noon starts, right? You get to write you get to write your things by 5 o'clock, 5:30, and enjoy the rest of the football and not have to have a late night. So Connor, you got to push more of these noon starts, buddy.
Yeah, because Greensboro really listens to me.
They certainly don't listen to me, so.
5:30 mass is doable on Saturday now.
So, yeah, I'm in keeping with our protocols. I'm still not allowed to go.
That's right. That's right.
So it's been weird not having that every Saturday or Sunday. So, all right. Well, thanks again. Hope you guys are well, and look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.